Good evening and welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint podcast number 276, recorded live on beautiful, sunny, balmy, no, it's arctically frigid and horrible here in Iowa on Monday, January 11th, 2016. I'm your host, Todd Klindt, and, since there's nothing going on tonight, there's really nothing on TV, and it's too cold to go outside and all that, I figured we'd just do a podcast, talk about some SharePoint, talk about some other stuff that I got going on. Got some folks in the chat room. They couldn't find anything else better to do tonight either, so that's awesome. Glad to have all my friends and the hooligans in the chat room. Before we get started, though, I need to give a shout out to my employer, the wonderful and benevolent Rackspace. You can go out to sharepoint.rackspace.com and find out about our SharePoint offerings, which are the coolest ones, let's be honest. But there are also other offerings, lesser but still compelling offerings at www.rackspace.com/Microsoft. And that's all our other stuff, Exchange and Skype for Business and Azure and all those fun things. Minesweeper, all that we host it all. It's all out there at rackspace.com/Microsoft. And of course, while you're out there on the web, go out there and find me at toddklindt.com/blog. You can also find me on Twitter at Todd Klindt. You can email me at todd.klindt@rackspace.com. I'm on Instagram and Peach and Ello and all of those, every one of them, I'm out there, and everywhere so far, I'm Todd Klindt. So I'm easy to find. As far as I know, I'm the only Todd Klindt that's out there. For sure, the most important, exciting Todd Klindt that's out there. Okay, so we do need to do some production notes. I got a big announcement this week. Are y'all sitting down? If you're in your car when you hear this, make sure that you're ready to go. You have both hands, 10 and 2 on the wheel, be buckled in. This next bit of news is very, very exciting. Okay, I hope I haven't built it up too much. You remember a little while ago, a year, 2 years, I don't remember how long ago it's been, I said that this podcast is recorded live 8:30 p.m. on Monday. And that worked out great like 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago now. But we've had some folks, talk about the time's not great. And for me, honestly, life's gotten a little more complicated now than it was 7 years ago. And so I decided about a year ago, I said, hey, let's move this podcast from a less convenient time in the evening to a more convenient time during the day. And last year I had some guests come in and I talked to some more guests and they said, yeah, we would love to talk to you, but not in the middle of the night. That's thanks. Do it in the day. So about a year ago, I said, hey, let's move this podcast to the afternoon. And then I never did. But now that's all going to change. You will all remember where you were January 11th. Well, most of you are going to listen to this on, the 14th, the 15th when it actually comes out. But I am officially moving the time of the live broadcast of this podcast. That's right. I'm actually going to do it this time. So starting February 1st, and is that actually a Monday? Did I write that? I did. I'll be damned. Yay, Todd. Starting February 1st, Monday, instead of having this at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to have it at 4 o'clock Central Time. This many, all right? So if you're used to listening to it now, it will have been 4.5 hours earlier starting February 1st. So that's what we're going to do. Monday, February 1st, 4 o'clock Central is when I'm going to record this. And it's going to be 4 o'clock Central, heretofore, hither and yon, as far as the eye can see. Except for like a couple weeks later when I'm at SP TechCon, it probably won't be, but we'll see. But anyway, moving the official recording time from 8:30 p.m., the dastardly, horrible, inhumane 8:30 p.m. Central, to a more reasonable, calming, soothing 4 p.m. Central. And already in the chat room, they're all very excited. It's going to work for Joanne Klein. It's going to work for Mark Christman. Sean McDonough says he probably can't make it, so that's also a win, right? This is nothing but roses all the way around. So February 1st, and of course, I'll mention this in all of the podcasts between now and then. And for production-wise, it's probably still going to come out like on Thursday or Wednesday. Though honestly, if I get it done, Monday afternoon, I can get everything out a little earlier. But we're actually going to do it. We pulled the trigger. It's going to happen on Monday, February 1st. Even more exciting, if that's possible, even more exciting is that you still have 1 week left to donate to the annual TK charity drive that Lori Gowan has set up in honor of my birthday. That's right. In just a little over a week, in 10 days from now, is my birthday. You guys already know, you're already shopping. You've already, talked amongst yourselves to find out who's getting me what, so there's no duplicates. I love that every year. I appreciate that. But between Lori's birthday in December and my birthday in January for that month, we do a charity drive where I just ask people to give to a charity. Not a charity that I care about. It can be, but it doesn't have to be, but a charity that you care about. And whatever you can scrape together, go through your, couch cushions. If you live in one of those states that lets you to turn cans in, turn some cans in, whatever, sell some brownies, whatever, kidneys, whatever you've got, and just give a little something back. That's all we're asking. And this kind of came out of when I started this podcast 7 years ago here in the United States, and I think over most of the world. We'd kind of gone through some rough patches, and I just remember thinking that there were a lot of people out there that I could help. I'd been pretty fortunate through all that, and I wanted to give a little back, and that's kind of how this whole thing started all those many years ago. So what I'm asking for is I'm asking for you to give a little something to whatever charity you want to, then go out to pointgowan.com. That's Lori's website, pointgowan.com/TK charity, and read about that. And basically just tell Lori how much you gave. And she's got a tally going. And she's keeping track of all the money that you guys are giving because of my charity drive. Now, that may seem very narcissistic and all that, and maybe a little bit. But this year, we're doing something special. This is something that I used to do way back in the day. I used to match the amount of money that you guys would donate, because it'd be a couple $300 a year, whatever. I could do that. But then the amount of money that you guys started donating started being measured in the thousands and not the hundreds. And that got a little tighter on the old Klindt family budget. But this year, because I'm turning lucky number 42 here in 10 days, I have agreed to match every dollar that has been donated this year. So right now, and I'm having Lori look the tally up for me now, right now we'll see how much I'm on the hook for. I know how much it was a couple of days ago. I should have looked before the podcast. All right. So we're just a touch over $2,800 that you guys have raised so far in the last month. And again, that's given to whatever charity you want, whatever is close to your heart. I know we've had cancer, March of Dimes, all that kind of stuff. When Lori sends me the card, and she tries to send it to me on my birthday, but it's always 2 or 3 days late. But whatever that grand total is, I will donate that an equal amount of money. So I've got 2 or 3 charities that I donate to. There's a food bank here in Ames that I donate to. There's actually another food bank in Ames that I donate to. And then my alma mater high school has a scholarship fund. And those are kind of the big 3 that I donate to. But I will write checks totaling the amount that you guys donate. So go ahead and donate that. Make it hurt. I want to make it hurt. I don't know what what our goal is this year, but we're close to $3,000, so let's try to get over $3,000. Let's see if you can do it. Jerry Lecanu, one of my friends at Rackspace, is thinking about donating. Absolutely, Jerry. Make it hurt. Get out there. Make me regret that I offered to do this. Do it. So this is good stuff. I enjoy this every year. This is a great birthday present. I remember the first time that Lori and Dan Usher devised this idea. It literally nearly brought tears to my eyes that so much good was being done, and somehow I was a part of it. So go out there and do that. So I'm going to say about that. I'll get all teary-eyed again. My makeup will run. I'll be all embarrassed. Be horrible. All right. So we're here the first couple weeks of the year. Things are still moving kind of slow. Hasn't been a lot of real exciting things in the SharePoint world, but that's okay because I've been doing all kinds of other fun things. So tonight's podcast is going to have a couple of SharePoint topics, but a couple of other just kind of tech topics and fun stuff that I've been playing with, things like that. The first one is this is a fun conversation that I got to have over Twitter today. So my friend Louis Simonetti, he and I, we're pals on Twitter. We chat back and forth. Louis Simonetti stumbled across Woot. If you haven't gone to Woot before, woot.com, Woot has auctions for crap. And they literally, and I think they still do it, have a bag of crap. You can get a bag of crap and it's just going to be random stuff. But anyway, so Louis Simonetti's out there today looking around on Woot, and he sees a crappy little Windows tablet. And he says to himself, I thought about getting a crappy little Windows tablet, but I just don't know how well this is all going to work. Who do I know that could answer some questions about crappy little tab? Oh, I know a guy, Todd. So he sends me this tweet this morning. He says, hey, there's this crappy little tablet on Woot. What do you think about it? What are your thoughts on it? So luckily for Lewis, I've got a tablet or two sitting around stately Klindt Manor here. And so I was able to give him a little bit of guidance. So I thought I would share it with you guys. The tablet that Lewis had in there has 16 gig of storage, has 1 gig of RAM. It's odd in that it comes with a keyboard case, which is nice, and a USB on-the-go cable. So it's got micro USB on one side and a regular Type A female on the other side, so you can hook USB things up to this tablet. So all together on Woot, this tablet was going to set Lewis back $70. And so I said, the important thing about these devices is that, they've got crappy resources. Set your expectations appropriately low. And he's like, well, it says it comes with Office 365 and it's $70. So I think my expectations are set pretty low. I'm like, all right, great. We would probably love it. But here's a couple of things I told him about. This tablet comes with Windows 8.1, which is what most of these came with, because there was some licensing things that Microsoft changed between Windows 8 and Windows 8.1 that made these tablets very economic to sell. And then with Windows 10, they kind of changed it all a little bit. So you haven't seen quite as many of those with Windows 10. But one of the first things that you'll do is you're going to want to get Windows 10 on that thing. And I've done that with a bunch of these. And I actually have at least one tablet that has those exact specs on it, 16 gig of storage and 1 gig of RAM. For day-to-day things, when you're just piddling around, as much as you're going to do with a tablet that size, the resources aren't bad. But what I've found is I've got Windows 10 on all of them now. Getting Windows 10 on was easy because I just made a little boot USB drive, booted off of that, and installed Windows 10. What has been tough for me on a bunch of these is getting the updates. And so the little updates, the little monthly things or whatever that came out, they go on pretty well. But when the November 2015 update came out, so that's the 11.15 update, I had one tablet that I just could not update. And I literally tried for a month and a half to get that update on, and it just wouldn't go. It kept running out of space. Now, I've got these tablets sitting here, and they're doing little to nothing. They have nothing on them storage-wise. So the one that has, the 16 gig of storage, you really end up with 14 and some change. You get the OS, and it's a little off. But there was nothing on this box. It's not like I had a bunch of high-def Panda videos or anything like that on there. But the way that Windows does the upgrade, it was downloading the upgrade, and there wasn't enough space for that. And so I put an SD card in there, like a, 32 gig micro SD card. Then it could download the upgrade, but then when it actually tried to do the upgrade, it would run out of space again. And for a month, I tried to do that upgrade and couldn't get it on that machine. And so one of the great things about Windows 10 and all this agile development that they're doing is they've continued to improve the installer. And last week, after, again, 4 or 5 weeks of trying, I tried it again, and they had tweaked the installer enough that it actually worked. So my advice to Lewis was, if you've got one of these devices, don't expect to upgrade it a lot because, update it a lot because of these kind of things, but it's out there. In the chat room, Sean McDonough posts utility to a good little tool that I've used also. This is a tool that you can use to make bootable USB drives. And so for Sean and I, we've used it for Windows 8 and Windows 10. For my Raspberry Pis, I've used it for Raspbian as well. And it works pretty well. It's a tool called Rufus. And the URL to Rufus is rufus.akeo.ie. And that will be in the show notes. For those of you listening, don't try to write that down. You'll run off the road. It'll be horrible. But Rufus is a great tool. Basically, you point it at an ISO file. You point it at a USB drive. You say, go Rufus, and it works. I've had 0 problems with Rufus. Sean's had zero problems with Rufus. Neither Sean or I are very smart. And if there were problems to be had with Rufus, we would have stumbled across them. The only problem that I have had with Rufus is when you make your bootable disk, you have to tell it if it's going to be BIOS or UEFI, and I have messed that up and picked the wrong one before. It's like I've tried to use the BIOS on a device that only had UEFI or vice versa or something. But other than that, it works like a champ. So I guess my advice to Lewis or to anybody else that's out there, if you've got $70 and you want a screen, that's probably money well spent. Now, it's funny because independent of this conversation with Simon, one of the things I've been doing is using the stuff I talked about last week in podcast 275 about saving the Windows 10, those screens that show up before the login, the spotlight pictures. For those of you that have Windows 10, these are those beautiful pictures, usually landscape pictures that show up before you log in, before you hit the space bar or whatever. Last week, I talked about an article on Windows Central that talked about where those files are hidden, where they're stored, and how you can copy them out. So I've done that. I wrote some PowerShell that copies those out, renames them, and copies them into OneDrive. And then I've got one of these little tablets that I've got, because I've got one or two sitting around, just running a screensaver on that. So it's just like a little picture frame that's got these beautiful pictures on it. So we all have our things. You could have pictures of your kids, pictures of your cats, your dogs, or whatever, for $70, it's tough to go wrong. But just be careful of the upgrade. That's all I'm saying, because I lost a lot of time with that. So another thing that I've been playing with that is not SharePoint, but is fun just the same, is Arduino hobbyist boards. So for those of you that went to Ignite in Chicago last year, Microsoft was talking about Windows 10 and the Internet of Things, and they announced that there was going to be a version of Windows 10 that would run on Raspberry Pis. And that's a little, I got it right here. All right, little Raspberry Pi. So these are little $30 computers. Normally you put a Linux variety or variant on there. Raspbian is a pretty common one, but it's actually a little computer. It's got Ethernet, it's got USB, it's got an HDMI out, it's got a desktop if you put the regular Raspbian thing on it, and a fun little computer. So Microsoft has given those out to encourage people to put Windows 10 on them and develop things. I put Windows 10 on it and was thoroughly unimpressed. At that point, Windows 10 for the Internet of Things didn't do a lot of things, didn't do network, things like that. So I got kind of frustrated and put Raspbian on it, but it got me thinking about this whole maker thing and all the things that are going on out there. So I started looking around at projects that I would want to do, things that I would want to try to accomplish with this Raspbian. And what I figured out was all the projects that I wanted to do were more Arduino type things than Raspbian projects. So let me talk about the difference here for a minute. Raspbian the Raspberry Pi is a full computer. Again, it's just a computer. It's a Linux computer. You can hook a keyboard up to it, a mouse up to it, cruise the web, send email, do whatever, and it's just a computer. Now it's got I/O pins and things like that on it, and it's got a connector for camera. But again, it's a computer. It's a computer. A lot of people use it for the Internet of Things, but it's a computer. Arduinos are what's called microcontrollers. So Arduinos are not computers. The Arduino boxes don't have display ports or any of those kind of ports on them, but they are more purpose-driven. They do like one task. And what I found that I wanted to play with was tasks like, figuring out when the dryer's done and sending me a text message or anything like that. And so for Christmas, I asked for one of those Arduino variants for Christmas. Now, one crazy thing about Arduino is that it is open source, but it is open source hardware. So the company that designed the Arduino open sourced the hardware, and a bunch of companies can make Arduino devices. The device that I went with was one called a Linkit 1. And I got a package that had a Linkit 1, which is an Arduino compatible board, and then a little shield thing that sits on top of it, and you can hook sensors and all that up to it. It's been a lot of fun. I've been playing with that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and then just having a blast learning all this. It's been tough. So I'm obviously not a hardware guy. I'm not a programmer, and all this is written in C, and I just don't have a lot of background on that, and haven't been doing the Arduino thing for a while, and so I'm having a lot of problems. But I've been figuring out solutions to all of them, so it's been a good time. But you're probably going to see some blog posts on the problems that I'm having and the solutions that I'm having. And I've already put one out there about a compiler problem that I was having with the Linkit 1. And it's just my nature when I find these solutions to these kind of things to share them with everybody. And so I'll probably be doing a couple more of these. If you're listening to this podcast, you play with some of these software things, and you probably like gadgets and all that. There's a lot of fun to be had with these little hobbyist things and project things. And it's all, so I'm going to be 42 here in 10 days. When I was a little kid, I had all the little Radio Shack, 201 kits and built those and loved all that. I've been a nerd my whole life. And this is very much like that, but it's, 30 years newer. Now they got better sensors and you can write software for them and all that. And I've had a lot of fun. So I've built all kinds of simple little things. Like I've got a little thermometer thing that I built now. It's got an LCD display and so it's a lot of fun. The Arduino devices are everywhere. And so you're going to be seeing some blog posts on that. If you guys have any curiosity about that kind of stuff, if there's any listeners that are doing those kind of things, let me know. I can talk about them on the podcast. I think there's probably some podcast material there. There's this whole internet of things, and we just lost Sean McDonough in the chat room. I said compiler, and I think his heart seized up on him. Yes. So Sean, to make it even worse, I was troubleshooting some includes that weren't showing up. The compiler couldn't find some .h files, and I had to go through and edit my environment to point it to the directory with the include files that I needed. I know that makes you all very happy. But if there's interest in that kind of thing, let me know, and I'll talk about it more. But it's been a lot of fun. I've had a blast with it. Really, really good stuff. The next thing that's kind of been in the news last week was CES, the Consumer Electronics Show out in Las Vegas. I've never been to a CES. I want to get to a CES. I think maybe my New Year's resolution for 2017 will be to go to CES. A lot of cool things out there. One of them, this is all things that we'll probably never see, but one of them was kind of cool and something that I think is on sale now. And it is a Vector smartwatch. Everybody's making smartwatches right now. I've got the Band, there's the Pebble. Samsung has 4,700 different smartwatches. Apple's got a smartwatch now. Everybody's making smartwatches. And I really like the idea of smartwatches. I like this idea of wearable technology and technology that's doing things for you. But the problem is they all look dorky. They all look like smartwatches. When I was looking at the CES press announcements for this Vector smartwatch, it kind of it had three unique qualities that I really liked. Number one, it offered a metal band. Most of these smartwatches, even if they look like a watch, like a regular watch, they got leather bands or plastic bands. For whatever reason, I don't know if I just wasn't hugged enough as a child. I don't know what it is, but I only wear watches with metal bands. That's all I wear. Now, there's one exception to that, and that's a watch that I bought for, it's like a waterproof watch that I wear when I play around outside, things like that. But other than that, all the watches that I wear when I'm around grown-ups have metal bands, and most smartwatches don't have that. So the Vector has a metal band, and it looks like a watch. It doesn't stick out like I'm a dork wearing a computer on my wrist. So I really like that. One of the more amazing things about the Vector smartwatch is that it has a 30-day battery. 30-day. Anybody who's got any of these fitness devices or smartwatches know that you got to charge the thing about every 75 minutes. All right, maybe every couple of hours. But certainly every day. I have to charge my band every night. That's just how these things are. This Vector says it's got a 30-day battery, and it does this by a variety of things. It's got a monochrome display, so it's not doing fancy color. It's a very passive e-ink kind of display. It does the thing like the Apple Watch and the Band does, where it shuts the display off unless you turn it over. It does a bunch of things to keep the battery usage down. 30-day battery, awesome. That is great. That's amazing. So it looks like a regular watch. That's above average. It's got a 30-day battery. That's amazing. But that is not the most amazing thing about this phone. The most amazing thing about this phone, and I couldn't believe it, I did one of those things. I imagined myself in like a Mel Brooks movie where I did a spit take and then, rub my eyes. And I confirmed this in two places. It says this on Amazon and on the Vector webpage itself. This smartwatch has a Windows Phone app for it. Holy crap. I thought it was a typo. It said Windows Phone. I'm like, Windows Phone? They even make phones anymore? That's crazy. And then I'm like, oh, clearly that's a typo. That can't be. So then I went to the Vector web page, and that is well, I'll just copy it here. The Vector web page, and it said, sure enough, at vectorwatch.com. Sure enough, iOS and Android, and then Windows. And I'm like, get out. Surely they mean that this is like a Windows app or a Windows Universal app or something like that. And I clicked it, and it took me to the Windows store for Windows Phone. And honest to God, is a Windows Phone app. I was floored. I could not believe it. I should have went out and bought a lottery ticket, because that thing's up and going right now. But there honestly is a Windows Phone app for this brand new watch. Now, before reality folds in and upon itself, and life as we know it has changed, and all that kind of stuff, I checked out the app. It has 8 reviews. So we've got this Venn diagram between Windows Phone users and Vector smartwatch users. The two kind of just kiss in the middle there. 8 reviews for a total of 2 stars. So the app is not that good, apparently. Doesn't connect to the watch real well, freezes up every once in a while. But God bless them, they made a Windows Phone app for this smartwatch. I kind of want to buy one just to support that. But anyway, if you're looking for that, so in the chat room, because I have a good variety of people, I've got some ladies in the chat room, and they both mentioned that the watch still looks like it's for men. It does, though I will say, in their defense, it has a round face like my my Tissot here, but there's also like a square-faced one, and I can't tell if that one's really super big or not. But yes, it does still look a bit like a man's watch, but they're getting there. They're getting there, ladies. It's good. So that was kind of cool. I did not order a smartwatch, the Vector smartwatch, because I don't know if I would wear it or not, but I like the thing. And I did want to also say, I even put this in my notes and did mention that tablet that Louis Simonetti mentioned that I was talking about. I did not buy one of those either. I know you all probably just assumed that I did and didn't even think about it, but I did not buy that. I have not bought a tablet. It's been months since I bought a tablet. I did not buy that tablet. So anyway, if you're looking for a smartwatch and you want one that'll work with your Windows Phone, though, if Twitter and my Facebook feed are to believe, nobody has a Windows Phone anymore. Every single buddy except for maybe Shane has abandoned the platform, but it's out there. Oh, and Lori, that's right. Lori's got one. You have to, though. Okay. So I did sneak in some SharePoint content here, kind of by accident, I think. I don't know what it's doing here. I mentioned this a couple of months ago, but it bears repeating. Starting in October, the October, November, and December CUs for SharePoint 2013 break federated search and break the cloud search service app. All right, so that's not new. If you're using the federated search or the cloud search service app and you need those things to work, do not put the October, November, or December cumulative updates for SharePoint 2013 on your farm. It will be nothing but sadness and suffering. The good news is tomorrow, second Tuesday of the month, you know what happens the second Tuesday of the month. That's right. Our benevolent overlords at Microsoft release us those tasty CU bits. And I have reason to believe that search error will be fixed in the January 2016 cumulative update. So if you've fallen victim to that patch and things are broken, get your test environments ready so you can do some due diligence on that January 2016 CU. But I think that search error will be fixed with a patch from tomorrow. SharePoint 2016, the latest public beta, has a similar bug, I think. I haven't checked it lately, but I think that bug is still out there. Speaking of SharePoint 2016, of course, that will be coming out sometime this half of this year. So make sure you're out there testing that. The public beta is out there. You can play with that. And that brings up another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. If you want to get these patches that I've talked about, the January 2016 CU, all that, you can go out to toddklindt.com/SP2013 patches or builds, SP2013 builds, and it has all the builds. You just go to the bottom, get this one. I am in the process now of putting together my SharePoint 2016 builds page, and I would like your input. So if you've got things you like or don't like about my SharePoint 2010 or SharePoint 2013 pages, let me know. So let me know what I can do better for 2016. I've got some ideas. Lori and I've been brainstorming about that. We've got some things we want to change, but this is your chance. I'm democratizing the SharePoint 2016 builds list. So email me, todd.klindt@rackspace.com, or hit me up on Twitter @ToddKlindt, and let me know how you'd like to see that look. And I'll be putting that out. I've been meaning to do that for the last couple of months and just haven't decided on what I want it to look like. But we're getting close to putting that out there. It will be out there before RTM, so for sure. And so I guess then the thing for changes, format, one of the things I keep threatening to do, and I've actually got this prototyped out, is exposing that as an XML file. So things like Brian LaLansette's AutoSP installer can consume it, or Tony Francola's SP.kit can consume it, whatever, things like that. Any kind of alerts, how you'd like to be alerted right now. I've got Twitter accounts @SP2013 patches and @SP2010 patches. And then I've also got links on the changedetection.com website. But if there's any other way that you would like to be alerted about new patches, let me know. Any ideas that you have at all, I would love to hear them. Joanne has an idea. I've already got her creative juices flowing. Outstanding, Joanne. You get a gold star for today. I've been kind of slacking on my PowerShell tips, and I wanted to bring this one up. This is one that I've used in the last week. This is from PowerShell.com. Great PowerShell resource, obviously. It's not going to be cooking tips or anything with a URL like PowerShell.com. This is a blog post on how to create color-coded Excel reports. Now, the example they give here is about running services, a Windows box, net start kind of thing. And but I always end up doing it for drive space on SharePoint machines, things like that. And what I want is some kind of easy visual indicator that something has crapped the bed. And, red lines are a great example for that. So I always forget how to do that because you got to build HTML. And what I've ended up doing for the reports that I've built is, walk through machines, walk through drives, look for the error case, build the HTML that has a red line of drive space, free drive spaces between or below 10% or something. And then I email that HTML file out to a bunch of people. And I use the send mail message commandlet for that. So I've been doing that for a few years now. But every once in a while, I need to revisit that. And I don't do HTML that much. But this is a good, easy way, easy code here you can steal if you want to make color-coded reports and, then schedule the job to run and do whatever. It's a good thing. If you've got a manager, managers like color, and managers like getting useless automated emails. I don't know what it is about managers. I don't know if when you become a manager, they take you in a room and then they hit you on the head with something. I don't know how this happens, but managers love worthless automated emails with colors and graphs and stuff in them. So this is a great way to get that to your boss. I don't know about you guys, but review time was just at Rackspace. So I like to do these things right before review time. Helping you out with that one a little bit. And final thoughts here. So my buddy Mark Miller, a fellow SharePoint guy, posted this on Facebook today and asked for my thoughts on it. And I thought it was pretty interesting. It was a Wired.com article, and it talks about how podcasters need to rely on more than audio to get people's attention, to get new listeners. And I agree with Mark, and it's something that I think about a lot with the podcast. I've been doing this podcast, it'll be 7 years in a couple of months. Started this thing in March of 2009. And the listenership has kind of peaked. I get, depending on the month and the quality of the broadcast and all that, I get between 1,500 and 2,000 downloads per episode. And that's over, and when I look at it, it's usually over the month after the episode has been released. So it's been mostly steady over the last however long, but it's certainly plateaued early and stuck with that. Now, there's a couple things at play there. The number of people who will put up with this is fairly limited, so I've got a limited audience there. There are more podcasts out there competing for people's time, better podcasts than mine, certainly. And it just seems like the podcasting medium there's just a few people. Like, I think if you took a random, 30 something off the street and said, hey, tell me in 30 seconds how you can listen to a podcast, I don't think most of them could do it. It's just, it's kind of a nerd thing. It's getting better, but it's kind of a nerd thing. And this Wired article talks about some really popular, super popular podcasts, things like Serial, which is kind of the epitome of popular podcasts, but things that This American Life and Serial and all these are doing that aren't just audio to get more viewers and to attract more viewers. And I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. So I've made some of these changes over the years, and I'll continue to make them. But things like putting it on YouTube, that doesn't get a lot of traction, about 100 hits per episode. But that's a little something out there. Makes the broadcasting a lot easier to consume, the live stream stuff. Fixing the audio, compressing the sound. I listen to a lot of music. I strongly dislike audio compression in music. I dislike it a lot, but it makes sense in podcasts. It certainly makes sense in podcasts that are audio only and that people are going to be listening to in their cars. So I've made those changes, things like that. But this Wired article talks about other things like making, 15-second videos and putting them up and having a Vine site or something like that. And so I'm going to look some of that stuff over. But as always, so it's an interesting article. It's in the show notes down there. But once again, I would like your feedback. This podcast is, the way that people hear about podcasts is from other people that listen to podcasts. So as a listener of this podcast, what works for you? What doesn't? What could I do to expand my viewership or listenership? These are the kind of things that guys like Mark and I chat about. And Mark and I have chatted about this many times. It's a good conversation. Podcasting has evolved and changed a lot since I've started doing it, and it's just going to keep changing. But always interested in feedback, so let me know what you think. Okay, coming up on my 30 minutes here. I've been trying to keep these at 30 minutes. I'm a little over tonight. And honestly, that's another thing that I've done to make my podcast more consumable, is not letting it go quite so long. Because I know if you guys that listen to this podcast or anything like me, I've got a podcast app that downloads all my podcasts. And when I'm going somewhere, driving to the store, looking for something to listen to, I'll look. And if I see a podcast episode that's like an hour and a half, I'm like, I just don't have time for that. And then I'll jump over and grab a Planet Money that's like 20 minutes or something. So keeping it close to half an hour is part of that. So shameless self-promotion. We're almost done, folks. You're almost at the home stretch here. Have SP TechCon in a month. That is February 21st at sptechcon.com in Austin, Texas. Now, the conference goes for several days. I'm only going to be there on Monday and Tuesday. I'm doing all my sessions Monday and Tuesday. I've got a Rackspace thing that I need to go to on Tuesday afternoon for the rest of the week. So please go to SPTechCon, go to sptechcon.com. And if you're at the conference, come find me. Rackspace isn't going to have a booth at this one, but I'm going to be doing 3 sessions. I'm going to be wandering around looking sad and lonely. If you're a podcast listener, or if you've been to one of my sessions before and just want to come up and say, hey, for goodness sakes, just come up and find me, shake my hand, introduce yourself. I'm a pretty friendly guy. Anybody that's met me can attest to that. But I would love to meet you, but you got to do it on the first couple of days because I'm taking off Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning sometime. So find me while we're there. That's sptechcon.com, February 21st through 24th in Austin, Texas. And I can't announce it yet. The ink's not dry on the page yet, but I've got another conference that I will be attending this year. One of many, hopefully, but one that I've got some stuff coming on. So that'll probably be able to announce that one next week. So tune in to Podcast 277 to find out where else you'll be able to find me. And like Daniel Glenn says in the chat room, just give me a big old hug. Just do it. Don't even give me any warning. Just run up to me and just lay it on me. I love it. All right, everybody. Thank you. Chat room, I'll stick around for a few minutes. Don't you guys go anywhere. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys next week. Thanks. Have a good night.